The best thing I saw this week was Aaron Rodgers. For a guy who played 4 downs last year and the season before with a broken thumb, he did not look like a 40-year-old quarterback Thursday night. I was really impressed by him. And as a Giants fan, I didn't want him to look good, but he did.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams. And on today's Top Shelf Tuesday edition, we will review Week 3 of the NFL. Segment 1, best, worst, and most surprising. Segment 2, we got our top 5, as well as our story of the week, player development or lack thereof. And in segment 3, we will talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. Let's go ahead and get started. Academic and athletic consultant for the CK Save Project, George Aka. George, what was the best thing you saw this week, sir?
I got to go back again. Minnesota Vikings. Again, they just keep plowing through people. And now they took down a team we had in our top 5 since the beginning, the Texans. I got to ride with them. They are for real. Go ahead, Sam Darnold, get it
in. Mike King, team leader extraordinaire. What was the best thing you saw this week?
We're going to pretend it's not Malik Neighbors just saving Daniel Jones's job, maybe saving $80 million if he could keep doing what he did today and taking the interceptions from the other team, because that's how bad these passes are. That guy, I mean, he's so good. The next quarterback is just going to be so lucky to have him. But in the meantime, we're gonna be happy with these wins. We're gonna celebrate these wins that Malik Neighbors gives us.
All right, captain for life, Will Cotton. Will, what was the best thing you saw today?
Man, Malik Willis, 2 wins back to back. He has a good team, man, behind him. You know, he had 120 QBR. So, hey, 8 times out of 10, you're going to beat a team that's not that very good in the middling row. Yo, man, that's a good team. And that dude, everybody was saying they were done. They said they were going to lose. They got to get Jordan Love back. Jordan Love can chill. He doesn't have to rush his way back. Malik is holding it down. So that's the best thing I saw this week.
All right, Fowler and Campbell, Hall of Famer. What's the best thing you saw today?
Yeah, and I'm with Will, man. I love it. It's surprisingly that matchup with Malik and Levis, man. I'm glad Malik outplayed him. I'm glad they whooped up on him. Because I'm a Malik fan, believe it or not. And I'm glad they got that dub. And obviously Minnesota beating up on them Texans too. So it was a couple good games today.
All right, and making his maiden voyage, our favorite everyman, first time on the show, Jersey's finest, Mike Connors. Mike, 1, good to see you. 2, what's the best thing you saw this weekend?
Nice to be here. Thank you. The best thing I saw this week was Aaron Rodgers. For a guy who played 4 downs last year and the season before with a broken thumb, he did not look like a 40-year-old quarterback Thursday night. I was really impressed by him. And as a Giants fan, I didn't want him to look good, but he did. And also the Vikings, they're winning. I don't know if they're winning with mirrors or what, but there's someone we got to keep an eye on.
Yes, indeed. All right, George, what's the worst thing you saw this weekend, sir?
I'm gonna say the worst thing I saw was the that abysmal performance by who am I talking about right now? Oh, that abysmal performance by I got to go to the Titans because that's the one that was standing out to me. They just I don't even know what's happening there. I don't think they even know what's happening there. They're looking for answers, and I don't know if they have them. So that's where we're going right now.
Fowler, I'm going to put you out of your misery, sir. What was the worst thing you saw today, sir?
The debacle. Just seeing the Niners, have full control of the game for 3 quarters. Matter of fact, 3.5. And they just gave it up. Stafford played his butt off with what he had and beat an elite defense. The defense was still intact for the 49ers, and Stafford showed why he's a Super Bowl champion quarterback, man. He led his team to a victory, man, and that was surprising.
Okay. Keith, yes, before you go, let it be marked down that I did not touch that low-hanging fruit. Okay, just let it be marked down. I didn't touch that low-hanging fruit,
man, because I thought she was going for the juggler.
Let me tell you who's not going to be the nice guy. Will Cotton, what's the worst thing you saw today?
Oh, I'm not gonna punch down either. I'm more classy than I'm more classy than that. But the Raiders, man, how do the Raiders go into Baltimore and they win? And then they got home, they got Carolina. They could go up 2-1, be right neck and neck, in the thick of things with Kansas City in the division, and lay an egg at home. I know they benched Bryce Young, but still, I mean, that team didn't really have much talent, man. And then Thielen got hurt. So that's only one receiver you got, which is Deontay Johnson, and they tried to creep in, but they didn't do anything. They didn't get the ball to Devontae Adams. It was just a mess day for them, and now that was supposed to come off previous week to take that momentum, and they did not, and they laid an egg. So, boo.
You ain't lying. King, what's the worst thing you saw today?
Worst thing I saw was the Saints letting off that piece of human garbage, Nick Sirianni. Just let him off the hook, because this would have been another week where that freaking loser had to explain why he didn't take the 18 field goals he could have taken when they would have won by 20. But instead, he wanted to be cute and screwed it the whole game up like he screws up all the time. But instead, Saquon bailed him out, and they had one bad blown coverage at the end. They win. But the Eagles are trash. The whole NFC East is trash. The Giants could have been in first place tomorrow, which would have been freaking hilarious. But the Saints let them off the hook. That's the worst thing.
Okay. Connors, you ever heard that rant in a long time? What's the worst thing you saw today?
Some things have not changed in 11 years of Mike King ranting against the Philadelphia team. I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson. The downward spiral of him after an illustrious career at Clemson, several good years in Houston, and I know it's Cleveland where all great things go to die, but I just don't understand how his game could go that south that quick and show no signs of recovery.
Ouch. And George, somebody else has positive things to say about Cleveland. Okay. Following, what's the most surprising thing you saw today?
Carolina. I think Dalton, man, he showed out today, man.
Big Red was ready to play, wasn't he?
He came ready to play. I mean, he threw some dots today. Again, it's the Raiders, but I think the Raiders have a solid defense. But the way Carolina's been playing, I didn't think they were going to win a game this season. And he flipped it in a week. You know what I mean? With a great win today. They ended up, I think Vegas ended up scoring at the end. But, I mean, they controlled the game all game. And Dalton, man, he, 300 passing yards, 3 or 4 TDs. he looked good.
Mike King, what's the most surprising thing you saw today?
Go a little bit of a different direction. The most surprising thing for football this week would be if there's anyone left in a survivor pool, because I'm looking at this week and I can't see one team. Maybe someone took the Colts, but the Browns were extremely popular, gone. Panthers losing, that was a big one, gone. The Bucks losing to who they lose to? The Broncos. All these teams losing at home, gone. I mean, there's got to be like 1% of these pools left, because it's been crazy upsets every single week. This week, this was a bloodbath.
All right, George, that was good, man. George, what's the most surprising thing you saw?
I'm going a whole different direction, because the hell with this, the bloodbath that's been taking place with everybody losing is the fact that Ohtani and Judge Ohtani joins the 50-50 club, and Judge already has 54 home runs. So that's it. Forget all this. You can't even put money down on football because you don't know who in the hell is going to win each week. So I know.
Try not to remind me.
Sure bets. I'm going with sure bets. The sure bets are Ohtani and Judge. They're sure bets. So I'm going to go with that.
Cotton Man, what's the most surprising thing you saw?
Man, quietly, defenses cannot figure out the enigma that is Sam Darnold again. He is on fire right now. 4 TDs today. He's pulling last year's Baker, and he's playing very well, man. I can't even hate. I hated on the guy for so many years. Even from coming from USC, I thought he was so overrated, and he's playing locked in, playing very good football. And surprisingly, the Vikings are what? 3-0. So that's my surprising thing.
Hey, Cotton, wasn't he the backup in San Francisco?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just was checking real quick. They went with somebody else. All right, good.
We got our franchise guy. Don't worry about that.
My fault.
Connors, wrap us up. What's the most surprising thing you saw this weekend?
I have to agree with Carolina and Andy Dalton. The man credits Pilates with his athleticism. Not many quarterbacks go that route. So to go from a team passing for 90 yards to over 300 with that offensive line, I don't know. That's the most surprising thing to me this week.
Hey, Keith, real quick, one thing though that I don't want that's going to happen. The story's going to come out that it's all, Dalton had a great game, and the scenario is going to come out that it was all Young's fault and he was the problem. But I can't let that be. They got the ball out quick today. They blocked for him today. He had time to where Young didn't have none of this for the past like 3 weeks. So it's a veteran quarterback stepping in, knowing what to do, as opposed to a rookie. It might as well be a rookie, and he was getting eaten alive.
And that's a great segue. In segment 2, fans, not only will we give you our top 5, but we'll also take a deep dive into player development. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Save Project and author of Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. This book is your key to unlocking the secrets of being a successful student athlete. Drawing from my 30-year career as a teacher and coach, this instructional guide offers a unique perspective on achieving success in both academics and athletics. With over 15 personal stories and insightful anecdotes, Finding the Balance is a must-read for student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators. Visit www.ckasaveproject.org to get your copy and start finding the balance today. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. And in segment 2, because Mike King said it best, I don't know who's any good. We're just going to go with Will Cotton's top 5. Will, give us something, because it was a bad week for everybody.
I'm gonna try. I know George is my biggest hater. He's definitely gonna say so. I'm gonna say something that's gonna disrupt him. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna go with KC number 1. I got the Vikings. I got Pittsburgh. I got Seattle, and closing up the rear is Detroit.
All right, Doc, anything to add, sir?
No. I'm okay with that list for right now for this week. I'm not jumping on Will this week. I'm not. I'm glad he didn't say Philly, because that game was gift wrapped to them. So I don't want to put them on there. I mean, have them even put on there. So yeah, I can agree with Cotton. I can go with what Cotton's got for 5 this week.
Can I say one thing though?
Go right ahead, King. You're on fire.
Can we slow down on the Jets? They beat what seems to be a terrible. They lost to a terrible 49ers team. That's first.
The Jets are
awful, and they beat the Titans and they beat the freaking Patriots. And you would think that they beat Tom Brady Patriots. The Patriots suck. They're Drake May is not even good enough to be the quarterback, and that's who you drafted with the second, third, whatever pick, because you were that bad. Patriots suck, and the Jets beat them, and everyone wants to crown their whatever. They suck until they actually do something that matters in January or beyond.
I was going to say that till later, but go ahead and get him, King. Yeah. Get him, King. I don't have to say that.
Yeah, somewhere in heaven, Denny Green is loving what Mike King said. If you want to crown him, crown him. All right. So the story of the week, player development is important. As a high school and college coach myself, I thrived on scouting and player development, and the word of the century with player development is investment. So while we're talking about that, Bryce Young was benched by Carolina after an 0-2 start and a 2-16 start to his pro career. Hey, the kid's record is the worst through 18 games, and that includes a heck of a lot of quarterbacks. The organization, though, had, if I'm not mistaken, at least 3 head coaches, multiple coordinators, and quite frankly, the scouting report says Alabama quarterbacks aren't really that good. So earlier in the offseason, George and I were talking on the air, and I asked about the Mitch quarterback thing, and he's going to have some chances to, provide insight. But George, I will start with you. Who do you blame with this in terms of Bryce Young and his lack of development and just the whole debacle in Carolina, minus the win today?
I blame the front office of Carolina for this. You go back and just take here recent history. C.J. Stroud comes out same draft. C.J. Stroud comes to that Texans team. You have to have something to hang your hat on that you can count on. The Texans had that defense. The Texans had a little decent running game. Carolina gave away everything. There was nothing there for Carolina to hang their hat on. They couldn't say, all right, we can run the ball to offset his inexperience, or we can hold it down with the defense to offset his inexperience. They didn't, and they didn't set up anything for him. Who are his receivers? I mean, you talk about Thielen, but Thielen is at best a number 2. Who's his running back? Nobody on this panel can probably name one of his running backs. If not, you can only name one of them.
I can.
Thank you, because y'all big in fantasy, because there's not many, and none of them are running for over 100 yards. They're not a ground and pound team. There was never a set offense that they were looking for. We're going to be a run first team or anything like that. So you got to have things in place to bring a young quarterback along, especially when you're bringing him in and he's going to be the starter. So Carolina in the past 2 years has done nothing. Let's go look at the number of coaches they've gone through. So now you continue to change philosophies on the kid, and these things become a problem. You look at Chicago right now. They're not great. They're okay, but they're doing a little better. They might get 6 or 7 wins out the year, but that's because they have things to hang their hat on. He's got so much, the kid's got so much talent around him at receiver, at running back. And then you go look at the defense. You have to have something to offset them while your quarterback's coming along. And that's why I brought up earlier, they're going to pin their woes all on, we made the change and we did great. Man, Big Red's been in the league for 100 years. Big Red knows how to read defenses. He knows exactly what's coming. You wait till next week after everybody has the tape and be like, oh, it's Big Red. He'll come back to earth and be the regular guy he was, a backup in the league. But it's pitiful. It's pitiful because the kid has talent, so it's pitiful to me. So that it's the front office's problem. They did a horrible job. They set him up. It was a setup.
All right. So, Fowler, and I wanted to ask you, and I'm glad you're on. We have a player-coach relationship, and one of the things that, and I appreciate it, you credited me with player development and sticking to be good at these things, and everything else will blossom from that. What are your feelings as somebody who's had to be under people's tutelage to maximize your talent about what Carolina, in my opinion, mismanaged Bryce Young? How did you feel about that piece?
I mean, it's tough. Like George said, just management, man. Like you don't have a stable coach. You're probably not agreeing with the offensive coordinator. I don't know what's going on. So your mental was not there. You know what I mean? And you're trying to make a name for yourself in this league. And also it's a lot of pressure. You were a number 1 overall pick. You know what I mean? So it's a whole lot going on that he's dealing with nothing stable behind him. So it's just tough. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say, oh, he played bad, he did this, because he didn't play well. You know what I mean? But also they didn't give him time either. Like, this is year 2 games in. You played a Saints team who was really good. You played the Chargers, who, all right, that's one bad game. I think he would have played well today against a Raiders team. You know what I mean? Like, they pulled him up real quick. Just wasn't patient. But again, that's just bad management. That's horrible management.
Okay. Mike King, you've gone through a number of quarterback rebuilds as a Giants fan. Any thoughts from your lens about Carolina and their treatment of Bryce Young?
So you see with Sam Darnold, he was with the Jets where no one could win at that time. And he finds the right situation, and he's showing that if he was given pieces around him, a great wide receiver, the best left tackle and right tackle combo in football, a good running game, yeah, you could succeed. with the Jets, no one was going to succeed on those teams. I mean, I'm ready to move on from Daniel Jones, but you see the same thing. And the reason they kept him, because you shouldn't get 6 years when you play that bad, but he had the worst offensive line in football for 5 of his 6 years. This year, the offensive line's good, and he's actually been a lot better. He's still, again, not worth $40 million, but a lot better because he's got an offensive line that can pass protect. They're top 5. He's got a wide receiver who could make up for some of his mistakes. In the past, the best receiver he had, Golden Tate, but end of career Golden Tate was the best receiver he had in his first 5 years, which, I mean, if we're honest, is embarrassing. That's probably the worst best receiver any quarterback had in that 5-year window. So you can't do anything with that. So now he can make that pass that maybe should be intercepted, and the guy turns it into a 30-yard gain because he's got a guy. So you have to give – no one can win without pieces. Patrick Mahomes, and that's what Giants GM said on Hard Knocks, you put him behind the Giants offensive line last year, and he was going to look terrible too. You have to have pieces. Patrick Mahomes looked terrible in the Super Bowl when the offensive line was bad. So, yeah, Bryce Young, if he doesn't work out there, he'll work out somewhere, because you saw the news reports. Like 4 or 5 teams were calling and asking about him, because there's a lot of people who'd be happy to start him, and he'd have a lot more success there than Carolina, who traded away the star running back, got rid of the star receiver. Like, these are not things you do when you have a quarterback who's young. You want these pieces. You don't get rid of them and then get the quarterback. It's like just completely opposite.
Hey, Will, you're a captain. You're in that locker room. This move has taken place. What's your take on it? And Big Red played well today. Are you drinking the Kool-Aid, or are you like George, like, this Bama's terrible and he was here for a reason? How are you feeling?
I mean, they're trying to win just like everybody else. And when you win means checks comes, because they're getting stats and they're doing the thing they need to do. So guys are looking at them and they're saying, hey, whoever this guy can help us win, then we're going to go. But I think the players know, and I think Bryce Young knows, that when you look at the front office and specifically the Panthers, they're just a poor organization. I mean, when they had Cam Newton, they didn't put any team around him. They didn't put any other players around him. They didn't go out and get wide receivers and running backs and other things like that. They would draft, try to draft and do what they got to do, and they got very far. But again, that's not sustainable. Remember, like Mike King says, and Darnold, the Panthers had Darnold, and he was terrible, and then they got rid of Darnold and they went to Baker and they were terrible. Both now are playing amazing with a much better team. I say it's team that you have to support yourself. Look at the Bears. I mean, with Fields, they had nothing in Chicago. Then they got rid of him. He goes to Caleb Williams. What do they get? They sign all these receivers. They bring over Keenan Allen. They bring over DeAndre Swift. All these guys, and he has some sort of success, or at least puts a lot of pressure on him. Look, and Fields, he's in Pittsburgh, a lot more talent around him, playing a lot better. And I can't understand, when you bring in a young player, like a young quarterback, this is going to be the easiest time to bring in talent, because that's the cheapest piece right now. When his contract comes out there and he has to make, 200, 300, or that's where it's aiming, $300 million, you won't be able to put the pieces around him. But when he's in there and he's making $10 million and $5 million, whatever, then you need to offset that money and actually go get dogs to have that success. And that's what they should. And Carolina,
that's the 49ers model right now.
Yeah, just do that. Yeah, I think that's a great model. I mean, look at Houston. I think that's another great model. They don't have to pay Stroud yet, so they went on. They got the running back. They got Steven Diggs. They got the running back from Bengals. I forgot his name, but even though he was hurt this year, they still have the left tackle that they got from the Dolphins. So they have pieces. They have a good defense. And they just never set up anybody. I mean, from Cam Newton to Bryce Young, they never really drafted for the quarterback for success. And they're getting what they get. And unless they change the organization, it doesn't matter who they draft, doesn't matter who they bring in, they're not going to get support and they're not going to win. It's not sustainable.
All right, Connors, you got the last word on that. What do you think about Carolina and the Bryce Young situation?
Carolina Panthers are arguably, and it's a strong argument, the worst organization in all of professional sports. I mean, this was not a team that was one piece away. If you want to set up a young quarterback for success, you need 2 things. You need a rushing attack and a defense. Last week with him at the helm, they rushed for 90 yards. This week, like 130. So they're not rushing the ball. So they got to get the ball off quick, which they did today. And who's to know if this kid could have done that if he was in today? But this is an organization that's a dumpster fire. They pick high in the draft every year for a reason. It's sad that this kid could get broken early on because I think he does have a world of talent. This isn't a kid who came from, North Dakota Tech or some small school. I mean, he was at Alabama. There's a reason Nick Saban went after him. The kid can play football, and Carolina just has a great way of breaking them.
And Mike said something important. He said about breaking them. His psyche is broken because if you go and look at Sam Darnold had talked about it in interviews how he had given up on himself. Baker Mayfield talking about how he was at his lowest point. He's got to go somewhere to get his whole confidence and his aura back to him and rebuilt. Because you're talking about a kid who, he lost maybe one game in his whole time at Alabama, and now he's just getting mashed and he's getting blamed for it. So it's terrible.
And the coach there does not have a huge pedigree. I mean, he's never been a head coach.
He was supposed to be a quarterback whisperer, is what they told us.
Yeah, in Seattle, and Wilson was so good. I mean, this guy went to Azuna Pacific. I mean, he's not even from a big-time program. And not to say that someone coming from a small school can't be a great coach. I mean, there's examples that are, but I don't see anywhere that this guy has done a great deal. The only place he was an offensive coordinator was Tampa Bay. And they're not exactly a juggernaut offense ever.
Yeah, you can be a whisperer of all things. If you ain't got a defense or a running game, your whispering ain't gonna be heard. So you can go ahead and do whatever you want to, Sean.
All right, so fans, when we get back in segment 3, we will talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. And I have yet to be entertained this year by the NFL. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Safe Project, with a question for you. Are you passionate about supporting student athletes? If so, then become an official member of the CKA Safe Project and make a difference today. With your membership, you'll be able to help us provide essential academic and athletic support to underserved communities nationwide. Join us in empowering student athletes to achieve their full potential, both on and off the field. Together, we can build a brighter future through education and sports. Visit ckasafeproject.org and choose your membership level now. $25 is a bronze level membership, $50 is a silver level membership, and $100 is a gold level membership. Be a part of the change. Become a member of the CKA Safe Project today. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 3, we are talking about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. First of all, my season-long bets. Baltimore, I think they did get the win, so they got one. Go Pittsburgh. No, I didn't think they were going to be undefeated right now. They just got to win 9 games, and we're already at 3. Jacksonville, I took the over. That's not going to work out for me. But Tennessee in the under just might. Miami, I took under 9.5, so I look pretty smart on that. Buffalo plays Monday night, right, fellas?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll worry about them next week. Denver, go figure. Raiders, go figure, but I took the under for both of them, so I'm glad the Raiders lost. Detroit, over 10.5. I don't know if that's going to work out for me, but Green Bay over 9.5 just might. Atlanta over 9.5, yes. George and Will, you can continue to make fun of me all year because I took over 5.5 for Carolina because I believe that trash in the summer about the quarterback whisperer and he's doing different things. And yeah, they got me. Okay. Just like Penn State. Washington over under 6.5. They play Monday night. Dallas over under is 9.5. George, that's franchise's fault because I thought they was going to do something. Rams, hey, I took the over 8.5. They got a win. Sorry about that, following. And Arizona, did Arizona win or did they lose?
They lost.
They lost.
13.
They lost.
Okay, so this last week I was 2-5. This week I was 2-5. overall with the NFL, I'm 7-14, having a way better go at college. The spread, the game of the week was Baltimore -1 against Dallas. That hit. George, my 2 play, Houston -2 and Pittsburgh -3. Go figure. Pittsburgh wins by 10 and Houston can't score more than 7. My 3 play, Detroit -3, Raiders -6, and Cleveland -6.5. Bad and bad. My 4 play, King, this was the 4 play. Tampa Bay just to win. Vegas just to win. San Francisco just to win. And Cleveland just to win.
Oh,
Boy, if you just reversed that, you wouldn't be doing this podcast.
I
You'd be
know.
retiring.
I took Philly and New Orleans over 49.5.
Oh God.
Teams have been scoring like it's going out of style.
Oh.
And then I took the under with San Francisco and the Rams. And I'm like, why y'all keep scoring? I thought we were going to close this out. But I did take Green Bay as an upset. So, NFL is kicking my tail. But King, you had a better week than I did. What's going on with you?
I got Malik Neighbors before when the reports out of training camp were coming out how good he looked. It's like, let's do offensive rookie of the year. He had crazy odds because there were so many good quarterbacks, and it's a quarterback award. But all the rookie quarterbacks suck. So boy, him and Marvin Harrison went from plus 1,800 to like plus 200. They're the betting favorites. So now I just have to hope that continues. And if I got a 50-50 shot on one of these free bets that they give you when you sign up, that would be pretty nice. I'm not betting anything until I see the end of the season if that thing hits. And if it does, that'll be a solid year.
And running joke among the family is Mike King wins every radio program contest in the history of the world. All right, next week's games of interest. Dallas and Giants on Thursday. New Orleans versus Atlanta. Minnesota versus Green Bay has turned into something special. Philly is playing Tampa Bay. Jacksonville's playing Houston. Washington against Arizona. Kansas City against the Chargers, but I think Herbert's hurt.
Yeah.
Buffalo and Baltimore. And Seattle and Detroit on Monday night. Anything next week catch your interest?
Interested to see that Green Bay Minnesota game is going to be interesting. That's probably the one I'm going to be looking at the most because I want to see if Jordan Love plays or not. I mean, the offense has been real creative this with Jordan Love out with running Malik out there. So I want to, their offensive coordinator or head coach, whoever's calling them plays is doing one hell of a job with him back there. So I can't wait to see what happens if Jordan comes back or not. I hope he does because I still had him as my man this year. But we're going. I'm going on Monday night's game, so that we're going to see what happens with the money for this Monday. So we're going to see what happens.
All right, Cottonman, anything catch your interest for next week?
Oh, well, I got a winning ticket, so I got some money to play for next week. So I got a lot of good games I like. I took the Rams plus 6.5 in a live bet with over 48.5. And same live bet, I took Cowboys plus 22.5 over 43.5 while they were getting their butt kicked, and then they all came back. So even though Cowboys didn't win, but it was all
you won, and that's what matters.
Yeah, there you go. You gotta keep it close.
All right,
Dallas Giants. I like Minnesota Green Bay. That's going to be Philadelphia and Tampa Bay.
Boo.
They owe them some get back.
Boo.
Buffalo, Baltimore. I'm gonna watch that. Even though it's nice and warm, it's gonna look like it's cold. I already know. And I really think I'm interested in Seattle versus Detroit, man. I think that's going to be a very good, solid game. Two solid defenses, man. The offenses are sneaky, explosive with some great players, DK Metcalf and St. Brown. So, it's going to be pretty good. I think it's going to be high scoring. It's going to be in Detroit, which means they ain't got to worry about no rain, no crap like that. They're on the turf. I'm excited for that one.
Okay, following next week, what do you got, man?
It's definitely Buffalo versus Baltimore. And there's a reason why it's prime time, man. Like Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson is going to be some two playmakers going at it. What? All right. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be two playmakers going at it, man, and it's gonna be a hell of a game, man. So I think that's gonna be a good one.
Connors, what do you got next week, man?
Oh, I just don't want to watch Thursday night. Daniel Jones isn't good. He's even worse in prime time. So I think I'm going to take the wife out to dinner Thursday night. Other than that, New Orleans versus Atlanta, I think is going to be a good game. And if you told me before the season that Carr versus Cousins was going to be one of the big games of week 4, I would have called you a liar to your face. Then Buffalo versus Baltimore, that could be the make or break game for the Ravens right there. They had a slow start. Buffalo's been a contender the last couple of years. I don't have a lot of faith in the Bills this year, but you never know. But Baltimore, after that 0-2 start, they've really got to show something if they want to get back in the hunt.
Yeah. And King, you're going to be on all week. You're on fire. We're going to close out with you. What are you interested in watching next week?
So I got 3 games. The game of the week is Bills-Ravens, and the Ravens need it. If they're 1-3, maybe they could sneak into the playoffs, but you're not going to have a lot of hope if they lose every big game they play. So that's a big one. Giants-Cowboys is pretty much an elimination game for both of them because whoever's 1-3, I don't think anyone's going to really feel like the season's going to continue. So,
dude, if we lose y'all next week, I'm done.
It's over.
I'm hanging up. I'm hanging up.
Cowboys lose to the Giants, and Dak got the big money, and you're 1-3. It's over.
Y'all
That
gonna
ruins
make
everybody things. That ruins Mike King's draft pick, and that ruins the playoffs.
I'm
Y'all
good
gonna-
without the draft pick.
No, every win. I'm moving for every win the Giants.
Will can come out and videotape
just
me.
enough to not get a good pick.
Will can come out videotaping me burning jerseys. Yeah, it's gonna be like that. That's how it's gonna be.
Yep.
If we lose to the Giants, good God.
I
I'm good
support.
without the draft pick.
Just like
Give
this.
me a playoff year. We get rid of Daniel Jones. We trade for Bryce Young. We use the $40 million on corners. Maybe another running back, some depth. I'm good with that. So that one. But then the big one for me is Commanders-Cardinals because Commanders can't cover anybody, and I need Marvin Harrison Jr. to not kind of, get ahead of Malik Neighbors in that Offensive Rookie of the Year category.
He gonna have a big
So
week.
I need the Cardinals.
Entertainment
week.
purposes only.
He's going to have
week.
700 yards. That's my concern. So I'm going to watch that one.
Big week.
Knuckle is kind of clenched on that one.
Okay. All right. So, fans, on behalf of my cavalcade of stars, this was fun. I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we'll see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.